a terrible year for cryptocurrency. It'll forever be known as the year of the Terra Luna crypto debacle, the NFT crash, the year that Bitcoin's value plummeted, the year that Ethereum's value plunged, UST, Celsius, Voyager, 3AC, and now the FTX bankruptcy. I guess that's why it's best to just go with the tried and true and invest in good old solid gold. When crypto goes down, things get crazy, precious metals tend to go up. 2022 might go down in history as one of the worst years ever for crypto, but guess what? It's one of the best years ever for artificial intelligence. Absolutely incredible breakthroughs are now showing up in mainstream life. Voice assistants, self-driving cars, protein folding, energy optimization, manufacturing, and a whole lot more. But it got me thinking, with all these breakthroughs, what about applying artificial intelligence to predict cryptocurrency prices? Makes you wonder, are we also at that cusp where artificial intelligence can be applied to financial markets? Can AI predict the next crypto crash? Let's investigate. Let's break down the difference between the signal and the noise. So one interesting aspect about financial markets is that they're cyclical in nature. I mean, give it enough time and it seems like any cryptocurrency market will shoot up, crash down, shoot up, and crash down again. And along with it, social media tells their stories of riches and tells their stories of losses. And people are jumping in, getting off, all sorts of crazy times. But the big question is there a signal in the noise? Let me explain. Artificial intelligence is amazing at picking up minute patterns in lots of data. So if there is a pattern in all of that price history or any additional pieces of data that we can bring into a model, an artificial intelligence can do a pretty good job of predicting the outcome. Hence, in this case, predicting the price of Bitcoin. But there's a catch that's a little bit hard to see at first, because when you think about a self-driving car and you think about the market, they both have artificial intelligence applied. It's not an apples to apples situation. And that starts with the quality of the data. So to make a good prediction, you need quality data. So let's start there. So what makes quality data is going to change in every situation. It depends on the use case of what you're using it for, but it's never quality if there's no signal in the data. For example, popular baby names is never going to predict the weather. It just isn't. They're not correlated. There's no signal in the noise. Do you see what I'm saying? But weather can be causal. If you flip it around, hot weather can predict ice cream sales. Rain can predict umbrella sales. There is a causal connection. It's a signal that an artificial intelligence could pick up on. So I'm going to throw a new term out there. It's called Geico, G-I-G-O. It's an acronym that's used in data science and machine learning a lot, and it stands for garbage in, garbage out. Geico. And it basically means that if there's no signal in the data, if it's garbage in, then it's garbage out. You can't get a prediction out if you never gave it a signal to learn from in the first place. The human equivalent would be like sending somebody to medical school and then saying, use that knowledge to win the X Factor or American Idol. Like, it just isn't helpful. They were trained on lots of interesting, helpful knowledge, but none of it that's useful for winning one of those like reality shows. So if we don't have quality data, we can't even begin to solve this problem. But assuming that we do, we find some data that does have some sort of a signal in it, something that can be predicted, we still have 4 more big challenges to overcome before we can predict if the cryptocurrency market is going to crash. So the first problem is getting the right variables together to make the signal. When you combine something like price history, social media sentiment, inflation numbers, and you put them into the system looking for patterns, it's not always clear if those variables are canceling each other out, they're creating more noise and less signal, or if in combination they actually give you a more refined signal to learn from. The next problem is related to the time into the future that you need to predict something. Now, realistically, if we want to predict a crypto crash, you probably should know a couple weeks in advance, enough time to actually prepare for the average person to get the news. But in the cases that we have where we have some predictive ability, that can often be seconds or maybe minutes in rare occasions. Another problem is the data that gave you that warning might change as quickly as the prediction. So you might know about a crash a minute before it happens with some great artificial intelligence system bringing in multiple variables, but those variables that did work a few seconds ago, a few minutes from now, won't be the right combination anymore. So it's really hard to keep predicting it over time or forecasting out any distance of time. Like, imagine an artificial intelligence that's trying to predict the end of a sentence given the first few words. AI is actually really good at this. There's some great examples of it. However, there are some constraints. If you're typing in English, it needs to predict English. But imagine a system where the variables change so much, like in the stock market, with so many people trying and fighting to have this kind of control, that you start a sentence in English, it ends in French, and maybe in the middle somewhere it's Spanish. The system would also have to account for these huge swings in just its predictive ability, throwing it off. And in the real world, the analogy would be more like different languages that have never even been seen before. They don't even have an understanding yet. They just appeared, and machines need time to go in and figure out what they even mean, and by the time they do, the variable's no longer relevant. Like the human brain, AI is amazing at learning from its mistakes, but those mistakes sometimes don't teach it anything about the future. Another problem is cryptocurrencies are actually just pretty new. I mean, we have financial data and stock data for decades, but cryptocurrencies, especially in sort of a mainstream form, they just haven't been around that long, and different players are in the game now doing different things, so it's also even hard to compare historical data to current data. So even if you do find the right variables, you get a solid signal, you train an artificial intelligence, it sees a real signal, it instantly makes buying purchases for you, and you are predicting, probably not too far into advance, but say you're doing it even at all, which is pretty impressive, you have one more hurdle that you need to get over. And that's the fact that in an entire world of 7 billion people, there's at least a dozen more people who have also solved that problem, have similar signals, and that buying pressure, if one is up and one is down, is going to push everything back into a place where now the variation in those two systems pushing the market up and down is a different signal that you can't even account for because you don't even know what their systems are, what they're thinking about, and what their predictions are doing to push that around. Basically, we don't have information about all the actors that are trying to manipulate the market in ways that make profit, which means the market has hidden variables. We have hidden systems. We don't have complete information about why they're making their decisions, and we'll never really have the ultimate data source that has the perfect signal in it as long as those are all kept separate and not disclosed, which they won't be because people don't want to share their secret weapons if they're making money. But look, I'm not one to give up that easy. I think that AI can solve a lot of interesting problems in the future that seem unsolvable now. So let's pull back, and instead of predicting if there's a crash or even the price of a cryptocurrency, could we even predict volatility? Meaning, can we make a prediction about the range up and down something's gonna go? You can be right if it goes up, you can be right if it goes down, but can you even predict if one day there's going to be a lot of up and down or if one day there's going to be just a little bit of up and down? Can we predict volatility? Now, cryptocurrency has a reputation for being one of the most volatile financial instruments. For example, Bitcoin attained parity, meaning it was the same price as the US dollar in 2011. Now, of course, I wish I could go tell 2011 Dylan, that's a good deal, but I didn't have that kind of foresight. And today, we all know about the returns that Bitcoin has provided in the last few years. Historically, Bitcoin has peaked at over $68,000. Think about that. That's almost as crazy as it being $1. Now, you can make money betting on something to go up or down. So in some cases, Bitcoin's volatility makes it an interesting investing opportunity. If you can follow the fundamental principles of buy low and sell high, Bitcoin is better for you than some of the traditional assets that are more stable. Of course, that's like impossible to do for most people, and a lot of people are on the wrong end of that and they buy at the top and then they have heartbreaking losses. And although artificial intelligence isn't prone to emotional swings the same way that us humans are, because AI learns in the same way we do, it's still susceptible for the same kind of logical fallacies. Basically, AI still makes mistakes, just like humans do. So of course, artificial intelligence can make mistakes, and it can also make them a lot faster than humans, which is another problem. So actually spacing out transactions is a great way to help with volatility. One of the things that you'll see when there's big swings in stock markets is that they actually go in and slow it down. They say we can only have, 100 transactions a second or something instead of these microsecond things, because one mistake can just pile on each other and just shoot a stock either up or down. It can be very dangerous. The sheer speed at which something can run up before it hits a stop and then run back down before it hits another stop, and sometimes not even hit stops until the actual financial markets themselves have to throw them in, or the exchanges or the tools. Like, they have to have those built in, because sometimes people will just go crazy. They'll push that up and down to such extremes that people go broke and get rich in seconds. And that sheer speed that exists now because of computational ways to invest dwarfs some of the volatility risk there used to be in a slower financial market. All right, enough about the problems though. Here's a question. Has any artificial intelligence ever predicted the stock market or the cryptocurrency market? Well, in the traditional finance market, if you go all the way back to 1982, there was a mathematician named Jim Simons who had this idea 40 years ago. And at that point, when there was basically no competition, if you took the smartest people in the world, you used the absolute latest in cutting edge technology, not truly artificial intelligence, but amazing computational mathematics, and turned those into programs and connected to the Wall Street system before almost anyone else, the answer is yes. You could make some predictions. And by reinvesting those earnings in the smartest people in the world and the best custom software that private companies could build, a company like Renaissance Technology, who created the Medallion Fund, has actually beat the market for a long time. They have the best track record on all of Wall Street, hands down. The Renaissance Technologies flagship Medallion Fund has returned more than 66% annualized returns before fees and 39% after fees over a full 30-year span. That's absolutely untouchable. From 1988 all the way up until 2018. And my gut instinct is that by the 2015s to 2018s, it really would have been impossible for them to keep that lead, even with whatever moat they had with data and genius employees. There's just too much open source AI now. You can train the systems too quickly. You can use cloud systems. And now I think too many people have come in, and now you're seeing in the market no ability anymore for them to keep that moat. Now, as far as the crypto markets go, there's not an example that's comparable to that, but there have been some near predictions, something that you might consider to be an accurate forecast. For example, in 2018, Tickeron's AI, it was a pattern search engine, it predicted on January 7th, 2018, that Bitcoin's price would crash below $6,000 within 1 month. And at the time, you have to remember, that was a pretty bold prediction because Bitcoin's price was hovering at $11,500. And the reason why you could call it an audacious prediction is because the artificial intelligence engine did predict that there would be a downward swing from that 11,500 mark down to below 6,000 within a month at a 89% confidence. Very confident. It did make a big swing. And would you love to know what actually happened? They were pretty much right. Bitcoin's value plummeted to $6,914 by February 5th, 2018, before starting that massive climb up again. So the AI engine predicted something that wasn't that far off the mark. Seems like there might be hope, huh? I think that was pretty much a one-off case. So if we take a softer definition, there is some chance that artificial intelligence will give us some insights. It might give us hints. It might point us towards variables that can generally guide us. But man, it is really hard for me to imagine this problem getting solved in the near future, just because of the nature of it and the desire that we have to have control over this number and how that itself creates the uncertainty. And even though not impossible in all cases, where possible in some cases, it's just a small window. And that's probably actually what we're looking at when we look at the price of a cryptocurrency, is all of those windows opening up and then computer systems like a game of whack-a-mole. It's not a real prediction about the whole system. The system's so big, it's got so much nuance. All of the predictions are they're just small, they're unique, and it isn't able to give us an overall picture and a prediction that we can all learn from. There are a handful of AI systems or computing systems that are trying to make predictions about cryptocurrency markets. So as far as I'm concerned, the answer is no. We cannot use artificial intelligence at this point, but I hope you learned a lot from this video about why, because that is important. There are problems that AI is just unbelievably good at solving. In fact, there's so many. I would suggest learning as much as you can. I love learning about this stuff. AI can do incredible things. But predicting the stock market, predicting the crypto markets, it's just not one of them. I just don't see that one happening right now. I mean, I wish we could. There's so many people that are invested in so many interesting projects. Besides Ethereum prices, which have crashed, there's also Solana and Cardano, Dogecoin, Binance, Ripple, all of the top cryptos. I don't know if they're gonna go up. They could very well drop a lot further from where they're at now. It wouldn't surprise me. But then again, I wouldn't be surprised if they completely rebounded and hit all-time highs soon as the consolidation smooths out, people forget about this, and then all of a sudden new use cases come into play and people want to get rich again. It's just super hard to predict. As far as I'm concerned, it's a roll of the dice, and I don't even know how many sides are on the dice every time it rolls. A leader in the crypto space, a guy named Vitalik Buterin, he's one of the co-founders of Ethereum, the second largest cryptocurrency, he expressed surprise recently in an interview that the crypto crash didn't happen earlier. But I like listening to what Vitalik says, and he is not a hype guy. And he also believes that Ethereum is a tool that could absolutely change the world. It can be used by billions of people. It can be a big part of decentralizing the entire financial industry. And if that's not bullish for Ethereum, I don't know what is. So it seems to me like he both is surprised that it isn't bigger, and it's surprising to him that it hasn't crashed earlier. So I don't even know how to read those signals properly. And how can an AI? We'd probably be better at predicting the crypto markets if we actually had less data. It's almost overwhelming how much data there is that's not correlated to anything, that's not causal to anything, that has no signal in it, that everybody is so focused in on, they grab their little piece of data. That's what's making it so messy. So because there's no signal in the noise, I think you're better off taking your money and buying ice cream in the summer and umbrellas when it rains. Now here is an image that's generated by artificial intelligence from the text prompt. Absurdly beautiful, graceful, and elegant owl. Ultra fine details, bright colors, global illumination, and intricate environment. And this comes from the comment section of our last video. Thanks for the suggestion. Be Curious. That's our other channel. You guys should check it out. Be Curious Reactions and Be Curious Podcast are two other YouTube channels that you might like if you liked some of this content. So I'd love to see you over there, but also I'd love to just have you more involved with this channel. Dude, I'd love to hear in the comment section if you think this is going to be solved, because maybe it will be, and I am more than happy to be wrong. Also, if you do think it's going to be solved, how do you think that would affect our economy if broad swaths of people could actually understand and predict crashes, ups and downs, the boom and bust cycle? What would that even do to the world? How would we think differently of money? I would love to have that conversation with you in the comment section below. And look, we're still a really small channel. We've only got 577 users, so I'm happy to chat with you. I'm gonna reply to all the comments. If you have a thought for me, I'm listening. All right, that's it. See you guys in the next video.